The best of Money Matters. Right Business.
Welcome to The Right Business, where we dive deep into the stories of trailblazers who dare to disrupt the status quo, find the gap in the market to find the right business. Hello, I'm Hongbin Jeong. Hiring fast-growing digital teams shouldn't feel chaotic, but for many companies across Southeast Asia, it still does. Traditional recruitment models often struggle to keep up with the pace, lacking the flexibility, visibility, and embedded support that modern digital teams need. So this is where Kinetik Hiring steps in. Kinetik is redefining how, companies scale their talent with a hiring on-demand model that places dedicated recruiters directly inside client teams. From senior appointments and talent operations to employer branding and TA training, Kinetik is helping digital businesses across Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand build teams that grow with intention. And to find out more how they're transforming the hiring landscape in the region, joining us today is Sam Baxendale, who is the CEO and founder of Kinetik Hiring. Hi, Sam. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Hongbin. Thank you very much for that intro. Absolutely fantastic.
Couldn't
have done it better myself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, Sam. We read that Kinetik was created in response to a recurring challenge many digital teams face when scaling fast across Southeast Asia. So what gap did you identify in the hiring space which led to, you founding Kinetik?
Cool. Well, I've been in recruitment a long time. You can probably tell from my accent, I'm actually from the UK, but I've been in Southeast Asia for more than 10 years. So I spotted this gap based on some of the unique sort of nuances I saw in the Southeast Asia market across the likes of Malaysia and Singapore. So what I noticed was the traditional hiring methods couldn't really keep with the pace of digital scale-ups in the Southeast Asia region. Hiring was often reactive, fragmented, it lacked strategic support, full of bottlenecks. Couldn't really keep pace and was quite expensive as well for clients ultimately, which was a common complaint. Both sides struggling with poor process visibility, and you also got inconsistent candidate experience on the other side. So I came up with Kinetik really to provide a flexible, embedded hiring solution to scale with demand, focus on outcomes, an alternative to traditional models like the agency side and the RPO side, taking the best from each while addressing the shortfalls of each as something more agile and cost-effective. So that's where Kinetik how we came up with the idea.
Right. So I believe Kinetik Hiring, it offers a hiring on-demand model. Tell us more about this model. How does it work in practice?
Great. Well, our team is set up to adapt to hiring spikes, things like maternity cover or long-term TA needs generally where there's a gap in existing resources. So our clients would then subscribe to a fixed monthly plan, no commissions or surprises, so it's an entirely sort of predictable cost model. And then we provide resources based on scale, volume, and we set a duration based on the urgency, and we cost accordingly on a cost-plus model based on those resources that we provide on a monthly basis. And then we embed consultants on-site or virtually. I mean, we started as a business right in the thick of COVID, so we, at the origins of the business, is entirely virtual. So we ran teams and recruitment drives from our laptops through Zoom, basically.
Right.
But, so that is the DNA of the business. But with a number of our clients who are actually physically on-site, embedded within the client setting, wearing their T-shirt, using their systems. But ultimately, we own the end-to-end hiring funnel from sourcing through to onboarding as a complementary extension of existing HR or TA functions, working in an integrated fashion for fixed periods. We do bring some extra sort of toolkit. So quite often businesses might not have all the tools they need to drive the kind of hiring they want to. So we can beef things up with all the latest tooling from the likes of LinkedIn. We bring an applicant tracking system as well to provide reporting throughout the process, and our own proprietary network and database as well. So we bring all of that to the party.
Well, I want to dive in deeper about you having to be on site with clients. I mean, that isn't something you hear often in talent acquisition. How does this hands-on approach actually work, Sam? Does it actually help improve hiring velocity and reduce the usual volatility companies face when scaling digital teams?
I would say 100%. I'd say that's one of the biggest bottlenecks is trust and communication when it comes to hiring. So if we're on site, we're able to establish trust and credibility and build collaboration with hiring managers and HR and reduce lag time as a result. So trust is absolutely critical. It enables alignment across global and regional teams. And we set up sort of fast communication frameworks through even things like, Slack and Teams, and we become part of the team. You've just got that regular communication. We become very familiar to that hiring process, and we just improve the response times on all those plethora of questions that come up during a hiring process. So it helps enormously. We're also able to build our understanding of team dynamics, the culture of the company. We're able to upsell, become better brand advocates for the company itself, because we understand it more. We're living and breathing the brand. So all of those things really enhance the whole experience. Also, culture fit. That's a phrase we hear a lot. It's a very vague term, but through being on site, we can actually define it and screen for it as well. Ultimately, it speeds up the hiring process. Average time to hire in the market is about 7 weeks, and we're bringing that down to about 4 weeks.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. What I also found interesting here is, Sam, that how your offering goes way beyond recruitment as well. I mean, there's employer branding, training, even advisory on internal referral programs. Could you walk us through how these, value-added services support a company's long-term hiring outcomes?
Absolutely. So through being on site, we build an intimate understanding of the client and their needs, and we identify more and more use cases where we can support. We obviously collate a lot of data as well as a business. So it's a case of thinking, how do we use that data for the benefit of our clients? So this is where we came up with talent advisory. We provide salary benchmarking, things like succession planning, help build competency frameworks for our clients, job scoping, and building effective job description frameworks as well. So based on all the data and the best practices that we collate as a business, we're able to then direct that towards our clients and actually help them raise their game when it comes to, understanding market benchmarks and understanding talent acquisition best practices. The other area of that is employer branding. So these days you'll hear a lot about EVP, employer value proposition, particularly the younger Gen Y and the Gen Z folks coming through. They're all about brands. They can get so much information about a potential employer from platforms like Glassdoor and what they see through their Google searches and on Instagram and what have you. We can help businesses improve their profile online through those frameworks, which are becoming increasingly common. So,
It definitely seems like you're placing a very high importance on, visibility and data here. So, Sam, how is Kinetik using, data to shape better hiring decisions or strategies for your clients?
Absolutely. So for every project that we undertake, we look at it as a hiring funnel from right at the top of the funnel where you're going out and market mapping, right through to the bottom of the funnel where you're actually offering candidates and converting them to start. So across that process, there's a huge amount of data that we can collate, and we can track things like conversion rates across the hiring process, identify bottlenecks, where is the recruitment process being held up, how does that compare to market as well. And ultimately, through regular tracker sessions, we can review that data and make the improvements as we go incrementally. Data is absolutely the core of what we do, and that's really where the opportunity is to improve things like time to hire, which have a massive bearing on your ability to hire and convert candidates to actually start with you. If they've had a nice, swift hiring experience that is 4 weeks rather than 7 weeks, they're more likely to take the job with you, quite frankly.
So when a company comes to you, Sam, with, senior hiring needs, let's say a C-level or a niche digital leadership, what does that process look like, and how does it differ from your, day-to-day embedded hiring work?
Absolutely. Look, in my time personally as well, we've filled a lot of positions at the C-suite, CTOs, CMOs, chief data officers, and what have you. Filling roles at that level is much more complex and nuanced in terms of hiring criteria. The candidates have to have the skills and experience, but much more emphasis on being able to solve the particular challenges associated with that role. So our searches have to be more targeted, and it's also more reputation-based, because if you're senior, a lot of people will know who you are and will be able to do a background check on you. So being able to navigate is critically important. So, we need to come armed with the knowledge and insight to navigate those very sort of nuanced challenges. We need to have an idea of who we're talking to, how to target our search, and what is going to be a culture fit for that particular organization. Hiring processes are often a lot longer and drawn out as well. So stakeholder management is key to sort of positively influence the process. Much more complex and nuanced, I would say. Sometimes we get lucky and it goes straight through quickly, but that's very rare.
I mean, it goes with every case. But I mean, what has been the feedback been like then? Could you give us an example of when a company used your model which helped improve and expedite their hiring process?
Yeah, there's some good examples. I probably can't mention specific company names, but I can give you a feel. So as you might be aware, there's a big run on sort of new digital banks coming into the market. Right. So that seems to be an area where we've had, particular success. So for one particular digital bank, we had essentially built their development capability here in KL from scratch. That was 155 hires. Over a 2-year period, wow. mainly software engineers. And if you said to me at the start, when we launched Kinetik, we'll be hitting those numbers, I would have been very surprised. But yes, with the model that we have, we were able to hit those numbers. So 155 hires in 2 years with a team of 5 on-site recruiting for that particular business. Another very well-known household e-commerce brand we work with over a 2-year period across many different sectors, everyone from the warehouse through to the strategic HQ. We filled approximately 300 positions over 2 years for that business. Lots more sort of on the junior hiring, even some blue collar hiring there as well. So it shows up the flexibility of our model as well. And then it's a completely different scale. We've been working with one global FMCG brand, helping them build a new tech hub here in Malaysia as part of a global cluster. That's a much smaller volume of hires, but at a much more senior level where they're actually reporting into HQ in Europe. So that was a very ambitious project that went very well based on the Kinetik model. So 3 very different examples there.
Amazing. Well, Kinetik's work spans across Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand, 3 very different markets with their own hiring landscapes. So, Sam, what are some of the regional, nuances you've observed when it comes to hiring digital talent here in Southeast Asia, and how does your team adapt across markets?
Yeah, well, that's obviously a very expansive question, but I'll try and pick one or two nuances for each. So Malaysia is a major hub for shared services and sort of global operations being set up here in Malaysia, particularly in areas like finance, technology and operations. So we're dealing with a very diverse multilingual talent pool here, good English proficiency. I'd say candidates here, there are probably more jobs than there are candidates, so they have a good pick of opportunity. So the company's EVP, brand positioning, having a good swift interview process are absolutely key to winning top candidates. So Malaysia is a very competitive market now for hiring the best candidates. More emphasis on good process, good EVP. Singapore, much more mature market, intense competition amongst startups, MNCs and scale-ups. Top candidates are globally mobile, big emphasis on salary expectations. So companies really have to recognize salary benchmarks to get the best talent, I would say, right now. So, Singapore is a very different, more senior strategic, more specialist and more multinational, I would say, than Malaysia right now. Thailand is an interesting one. It's very fast growing. Strong momentum in areas like e-commerce, fintech, lots of cloud adoption. The market is a bit more domestically focused. English is improving, but it's a bit more of a local market. Thai language still plays a big role. It's a much more relationship-led sort of hiring market. So, just reaching out to candidates cold is quite tricky. You've actually got to build a relationship more up there. Whereas I'd say in Singapore and Malaysia, people are more open to a nudge on LinkedIn, let's say. Yeah, there's a few nuances to capture there. They're quite different.
Right. Well, on that note, looking at the bigger picture as well, I mean, we've seen some terminology come out in the past, several years with, quiet hiring, quiet firing, etc. So how do you think the future of hiring is shifting, especially in fast growth, digital markets like Southeast Asia?
Yeah, I'd say speed to hire and data-led hiring are now absolutely critical. I've mentioned employer branding and having a strong EVP as a few times during this conversation. I would say that's absolutely critical. We've got a growing number of the younger Gen Y and Gen Z community coming through. We've got to notice their habits, their buying habits, so to speak. There's so much information available about employers now that we've got to be conscious of how, the market perception of our brand and how that lands with our candidate audience. Purpose-driven businesses are winning the race on talent. Businesses that have a true purpose that resonates with the target candidate audience, I'd say is absolutely critical. So these are just a few things that I think we've already seen, but we're going to see more of as things evolve in the Southeast Asia market.
Okay. Well, I've got about a minute left for our interview here. So Sam, very quickly, as Kinetik continues to grow and evolve, are there any new initiatives or service lines you're particularly excited about? What's next for Kinetik Hiring?
Well, I'm really looking forward to expanding our service offering. I talked earlier about talent talent advisory. I'd like to really sort of win more market share in terms of enormous talent advisory opportunity out there, to use our data to advise clients on hiring best practices, the salary benchmarking piece, etc. So really expanding our talent advisory and also helping companies improve their employer branding and brand positioning. I think there's a huge opportunity there. We're based in KL, but we have been working regionally. More so, I'm looking to work more across the region, particularly Singapore and Thailand, and also markets like Penang. You know, if you think about areas like semiconductor space, which is a huge growth sector, that's an area where I really want to bring the Kinetik model to see if we can improve hiring experiences in those markets.
Amazing.
So, yeah, there are a few areas.
Amazing. Looking forward to it. Well, thank you so much, Sam, for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Hongbin.
Thank you. That was Sam Baxendale, who is the CEO and founder of Kinetik Hiring. This has been The Right Business with me, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.